Chelsea has the world's greatest flower show, and you don't have to be in London to take part. Chelsea's Fringe covers the whole wide world. In 2014, there were events in London, Brighton, Bristol, Vienna, Ljubljana, Turin, Kent, Norwich and online. Japan and Italy are joining in 2015. China and America can be expected in 2016. So, the end of May and the start of June is the time for a London garden tour.
Because as you may know, the Chelsea Fringe, which is an alternative garden festival that goes on for 3 weeks, is unfunded, unsponsored, it's volunteer run. It's the Fringe, the famous Chelsea flower show. It goes on for 3 weeks. You can see the dates behind me this year, and 4 weekends, including a half-term and a bank holiday Monday. We mustn't forget about the bank holiday Monday. We forgot about it last year. So the Chelsea Fringe obviously is the Fringe to the Chelsea flower show, and the point of the Chelsea Fringe, we're in the 4th year of it now, and the point is really to explode out of the Chelsea flower show showground right the way across London and inspire and enthuse all sorts of people to get involved in gardening, in horticulture, and all sorts of areas of gardens and links to gardens that we don't normally think of. So I'll give a little presentation in a moment which will give you a flavour of that. But things like poetry in gardens, music in gardens, food, all the things which we love, but which also happen to be to do with horticulture. So we don't have very many rules. We're a true open access fringe festival. It was inspired by the Edinburgh Fringe and the Edinburgh Festival. And in that sense, a lot of fringe festivals call themselves fringes, but they're not really a true fringe in that they commission and curate what's in them. We're open access in that if you're on topic, if you're legal, and if you're interesting, then you're in the fringe. And the most important thing is the interesting one. We've never turned anyone away from the fringe. Sometimes we have conversations with people, like if you're a community garden, you can't just say, oh, well, we're going to open up our garden to the public for one Saturday. It has to be themed, it has to be more interesting than that. So what we say is, well, you have to think about a person waking up on a Saturday morning, looking at the Fringe website, and travelling across London to your event. And it has to be kind of worthwhile for them to go. And overall, we think that model has worked pretty well. In the first year we had 100 events, and for the last 2 years we've had 250 events in each Fringe. So that makes more than 600 events in the Fringe already. So there's a huge variety of stuff going on there. And right from the very beginning we've had what we call kind of internally satellite fringes, which isn't probably the best term, because given our open access nature it's quite possible that one of these so-called satellite fringes may end up being bigger than the London one. But in the first year we had Bristol and Brighton and Vienna, and then subsequently it's grown. We've got Ljubljana, and this year we have 6 fringe satellites in Italy alone. We've got Melbourne taking part, and Nagoya in Japan, and other ones as well across Britain. Talking to people here tonight from Manchester, from Henley-on-Thames is joining us this year. So it's an idea that we hope catches people's imagination, and obviously it's caught your imagination, and we hope that you will join us in this endeavour. So the first type of event is community garden events and guerrilla gardening. We all know about that, and there's a part of my stimulus for starting the Fringe. So I really wanted to sort of celebrate some of the fabulous gardening activity that is going on down in Brixton with this bus stop. As you can see, a big bus stop, and it was a bit of a kind of dog walker's place, not very nice, and they just encouraged the people in the local area to come out and dig up the pavement and create this garden. That wasn't a Fringe project, that happened before the Fringe existed. But subsequently they've been a great supporter of the Fringe and done all sorts of events at different bus stops and at different places as well. So let's move next one, please. This is another example of community garden activity in North London this time. This is the Cake Sunday event where our colleague Naomi Schillinger runs a really inspirational front garden project in Islington, just where the old Highbury Stadium is. All these front gardens of people where they grow vegetables in the front garden. There are more than, well, I think there are nearly 100 front gardens there, and I live in this area, and it's so impressive to walk down there, see all these beans and all kinds of things growing. And the point is what we always say about the Fringe and the projects within it, it's more about the gardeners than the gardens. It's about the people. So if you're thinking about doing a Fringe event, you know, we always try to think of events like this where you can have a focused day, one day. If you're involved in a community garden project or you're doing anything, it's much better to kind of channel all your energies into one particular event, and that's what Cake Sunday is. Let's move along. There we are, as everyone talking, and you can have things like, you know, plant forums and advice. Next one. And we had the Vegetable Olympics there. These are our impressive trophies, because it was in the first year of the Fringe, this one, when the real Olympics were going on. So we had our own Vegetable Olympics, and we were told we'd be sued for having an Olympic event. But we continued, and I'll show you why we weren't sued in a minute. Next one. This is The Guardian Rosie, our head of press, we'll be talking to you about press in a minute. We have lots of friends in the media help us. The Guardian did this outside their new headquarters in King's Cross. This is the brilliant Dalston Curve Garden, which Marie Murray will be talking about in a minute. So we'll move along from that. It's brilliant. Anna Boone is brilliant. And this is when Camilla came, the Duchess of Cornwall came, and in our first year of the Fringe, believe it or not, and went to various projects in Hackney. And this is Steve, who's the pothole gardener. He's a sort of angry cyclist who makes gardens in potholes in the road and takes pictures of them. Next slide. And that's his royal pothole, which he did. This is the Living Under One Sun garden in Tottenham, where the riots were. Just over the trees at the back was where the riots were in Tottenham. And a brilliant woman, Layla Laxari, runs this. She's done events in the Fringe. A completely independent sort of person, again, no strings attached. And I can see it's sort of in that shape, but that's a best practice community garden. Next slide. A place like this, the roundabout in Hackney, over near Victoria Park, they did guided tours of their roundabout. Next slide. This is Mihail, this fabulous Happy Seeds Festival down in New Cross. Mihail is here. And this was on the first day of the Fringe last year. I had no idea what was going on. Mihail runs a nursery down there, really cool nursery, didn't know really what the event was. It's a massive street party with really good folk music going on at the end, and really good, next slide, really good children's activities where the people I thought were making really worthwhile stuff. If you've got children, you know sometimes it's a bit crappy, but they came away with really, really good things, I thought. Next slide. There he is, he's there as well. It's not going to embarrass you. But these really, really great wildflower seed paper things you make. Next slide. And that's his shop with a cactus are in with the organic soups and things. Next slide. There we are. And the record store in there. But so these are the sorts of things that we love. Next slide. This is the Chute community garden, where the children made in these very smart Waitrose wine boxes little mini gardens about London landmarks. You can recognise the Shard there. This is not a life-size model. Next slide. Battersea Power Station. And that thing.
Yeah, like.
And that's the real Battersea Power Station we had involved. So we have these, we're now moving on to like art. That was community garden, so now this is the bit about art stuff and installation and things. So we tried to get away from the sort of Chelsea flower show model of the show garden, you know, do things out in the world. And very often things which can survive a little bit longer, but not always. Sometimes just things which last for the 3 weeks of the Fringe and just light up people's lives or performances and so on. But this year, can you just go back again? This year we had Battersea Power Station, and we had all of these installations out at the front of it. You can see that boy is my son, who shouldn't be on top of that. But anyway, and in the background is the fabulous Tea Party theatre show, which was an interactive theatre show on the grass there in front, which went on for about 3 hours and people got completely obsessed by. I went to last year in the Fringe as well. It was a very strange and wonderful theatrical event. So we tried to foster these sorts of things going on. It's based on the Alice in Wonderland Tea Party, loosely. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you, Alex. So this is a proper art installation, if you like, done by an artist who teaches at Harvard. It was funded by the Quebec government, who've been a great supporter over the years. It's called Tiny Taxonomy, and it was in Grosvenor Square. So delighted. We have various bits of London where they're very, like the Grosvenor Estate, for example. I was just in email contact with them again. They're really open to the idea of having this sort of thing, or anything, all sorts of things going on their estate. They're not necessarily going to commission it. They may fund it a bit, we don't know. You know, we're not a funding body. We don't commission, create or fund. As the project organisers, it's up to you to do that side of things. We're a platform, we're either a platform or an umbrella. Or, I don't know what we are. Could be both at the same time. So there are beautiful little woodland scenes in the tops of the tubes there of tiny taxonomy. Next slide. And that was the office garden opposite Victoria bus station. That was great fun. And that's been involved in the last 2 years of the Fringe, and they're doing it again this year. It's basically an office. And they created a travel garden last year, little scene. And it really makes people smile as they go by. Next slide. This is other artists. These are Viennese artists who've come over several times and worked with us in the Fringe. And also, of course, worked on the Vienna satellite Fringe. They're called the flower beds. They do work which they do the plantings, then they paint them, and vice versa. There they are. They're working at the Geoffrey Museum now, which is one of the many museums that got involved with the Fringe in the past years, and they're involved again this year, I'm delighted to say. Anna Rose is here with, where are you? With a fantastic project. This is a before shot, I hasten to add, at the luggage factory down in Camberwell, opposite the School of Art, which is now a artist studios. And this was a gents lavatory, which Anna Rose turned into an incredible kind of conservatory with ferns and things growing out of the lavatories and out of the sinks and so on. And this rather interesting evocative area at the back was planted up in this way. It was lovely. But the thing about that one, which is really key, is that it was beautiful in and of itself, but there were also events there. So you did various events, didn't you, with like pizza and food evenings, and other, you know, there were various kind of gatherings that happened, and it was really nice to have that focus. Next slide, thank you. So this is a fire brigade garden. The edible bus stop were involved with this down in Southwark. There's a bit of decayed old land that the fire brigade owned. Next slide, and they actually manage it in this way for real. That isn't a press shot. They actually water it with their fire engines. Next shot. That's the Horniman Museum, another museum involved, planted up taxi, just fun stuff. That was one of about 8 events on a special day at the Horniman. Oh, and the gnomes of Ockenden Road. Ockenden Road tree pits in Islington, the best tree pits in London. Brilliant. You know, we do planting around the base of trees in streets. And they were trying to think of a way, you know, like I said earlier, you can't just open up and say, come and look at our tree pits. So they did this gnome invasion, where they got all these children, all the children on the street to make their own gnomes, and they hid the gnomes in all of the tree pits. And I went there with my children, and it was genuinely good fun looking for these gnomes. Next, and then that was the best gnome, who is Gene Simmons from Kiss. Yeah, that's the flower beds in Vienna. That's what they do. So you see, there's a synergy between the painting and the planting. Next. This was performance art, have performance art in the Fringe. Incredible piece by an artist who worked in the compost heap in Vienna Botanic Garden. She did a piece that went on for nearly an hour, where she just, in this evening gown, picked up stuff out of the compost heap and then dumped it in another area. And it was mesmerizing, it was wonderful. I first saw it, I thought, what the hell is this? She just carried on doing it. It was brilliant. She did it with such panache. Next slide. That's another compost heap. You'll recognise that one though, because that's the one at Kew Gardens, of course, which is the largest compost heap in the world and the best. And they did guided tours of the compost heap in the first year. And in other years, Kew, you know, so we have big organisations like Kew, Natural History Museum, things like that have got involved with us. The RHS, although we're not linked in any way to the RHS, because that's the Chelsea Flower Show and we're the Fringe to it, but, you know, they kind of tolerate us, let's say. But this year, well, last year in the Fringe, they did Tony Kirkham, who's head of trees at Kew, did this night walk with the trees. So after Kew was closed, this is the kind of thing, if you run a park or something like that, you can do something at night, open up, give people a special access, or go around the sea, around the back, as it were, to the compost heap, giving people just something a little bit different. This is a nettle, because the Natural History Museum had a nettle festival, and there was a nettle cream tea. Next slide. That's it. Nettle tea, nettle jam, scone made of nettle flour, and normal cream. And I ate it. Stung my mouth. It's awful. Not really. This doesn't sting. It was fine. Next slide. That's John. Are you here, John? The fabulous dry stone walling in the community centre of a council estate in Islington. Not the place you'd associate dry stone walling with, but it was brilliant. I did it. It was like a sort of 3-hour dry stone walling. Are you going to do something similar this year, John? Brilliant. I highly recommend it. because you go and you have a certificate. You are a proper dry stone waller at the end of it, and you actually are. And the great thing is that you just said, you know, you actually can dry stone wall now. You know, you've been doing it man and boy and everything, but you didn't give that spiel. It was really good, and that's exactly what we love in the Fringe. You know, actually people doing things, getting involved, meeting the people who do it. You know, so that's why walks are really popular in the Fringe, and moments where people are invited in. It's a moment when you formally invite people into your space. If you've got a space that's there all year, it's a moment for everyone to come, and they feel more at ease because there is a formal moment. I think that's what the Fringe can do. It's like an official moment when they're allowed in. So they might walk past what you do every single day on the way to work, but they've never really felt they could go in. And this is the moment when they can. Next slide. So this is an example of a walk. Brilliant people at King's College did this incredible series of walks. I can't talk about that. Next slide. The Poppy Estate in Hackney. I don't know what we're on now. Yeah, we're on walks and talks. So we've done community gardens, we've done art installations, and now we're on walks and talks. So this is the Poppy Estate in Hackney, where John Little, next slide, has all of these bits of this Hackney estate got John as their kind of landscape supremo, and it's the most impressive place. And he has done things in the Fringe every year. Different things. We don't encourage people to come back and do the same thing year on year. So people always twist it up a bit. Next slide. That's still that. Next slide. And then performance. We're in the performance zone of this speech now. So this is our friends who did Gardener's Question Time for us. So one of the things that has happened in the last few years is Gardener's Question Time. We've done a special Fringe Gardener's Question Time. And this year they're doing it at the Vauxhall Tea House Theatre, which is quite near here. I don't know if you know, it's a really lovely, quirky little theatre. And that's on, if you're interested, it's on May the 18th, which is the first Sunday of the Fringe. But that's the first Sunday of the Fringe. It's brilliant publicity for us because it goes out on the next Sunday. So there's still 2 weeks of the Fringe to go at that point. So it's just one of the things that we've got, and Rosie will fill you in on the press side a little bit more. Next slide. That's John Hegley at the brilliant poetry evening, which Marco St. John organises. So we have poetry events. Next slide. The Vegetable Orchestra of London, who carve, they're professional musicians, but in the mood, they carve courgettes and peppers and things and make instruments, and the sound is very good. Next slide. Another one of the Vegetable Orchestra. Next slide. And that's an event organised by a little bus stop with a cycle-powered, next slide, cinema. So children were forced into this labour. We had no morals. Then really nice, so we go from, you know, all kinds of things. So we try to bring the Fringe everywhere. This is this beautiful hotel, the Athenaeum Hotel opposite Green Park, the one with Patrick Blanc's, the green-haired living wall guru from Paris, made this living wall there. And every year the Athenaeum Hotel have done really nice events in the Fringe, quite high-end, you know, go and have cocktails and things. So we encourage all sorts of things in the Fringe, really. Next slide. And cocktails, various bars have done cocktails, restaurants do special. That is a Fringe cocktail, I've got no idea what's in it. And then the Herb Society have been involved. So this is just an example of people sort of meeting each other. So that is the Fringe in a nutshell.